Hi, I'm Michelle with the Sewing Hub, and I'm here today to talk about fabric therapy and the Peel and Bind self-adhesive binding, which is available to you in the widths of 1 inch or 1.5 inch, and it's custom printed, luxe bound, meaning that it has a satiny finish, super vibrant, and it's sold in 10-yard roll increments, so it is possible to make multiple projects with this. The listing mentions that the edges are susceptible to mild fraying, and it's recommended to singe those outer edges to reduce the fraying. So I used a flameless USB lighter, which is rechargeable, and it sparks every seconds that you leave it on, and then it shuts off. So while it is really great, you can get closer to singe and sear your edging. It also is a little bit slower. I'm actually more acquainted myself with using a utility lighter to singe edges. And so the main thing to remember while you're using a utility lighter or any sort of lighter or flame near it is just that if you get too close, it's going to turn a part of the product probably black from the flame being too close, or you could start to burn a hole into it, or it could catch like a small little spark. Another tip would be when you're doing this process is you can always hold the tape piece you've cut and the flame. You can do this over the kitchen sink. I've done that quite often, just for an extra safety precaution. And then as you're nearing the end of the process, as you run your finger along the edge, you'll feel how smooth it is, meaning it's been completed. And so once that's all done, the full length and width of the pieces that I had cut, I took the adhesive binding and I started to pull away at the backing just a small amount, maybe 1.5 inches, and then I took the sticky part and I folded it over the end of my project because I'm sewing up the LinenRizz Tulip Tote, and the binding on it goes from left to right of the project. And so I wanted to make a clean edge finish at the bottom with it, and I proceeded to be sure that it's even on both sides. I like to take a clip, as I've been using this binding, I just like to do that at the end. I've done my projects that I've done with this, I've done differently, where sometimes I've clipped it in entirety after slowly going down and gradually pulling away the backing and adhering it. I just repress over it. I make sure that my stitching is covered, the stitching that I use to bring together all my layers that need to be bound. And I really love how easily this is to use once you get the groove of it. I think this is my third project with it, so I'm definitely becoming familiar with the process. And so I just keep pulling on the brown backing as I go down the project. And again, this is like a satiny, smooth, very thin adhesive tape. And I like that it creates less bulk and it's also less stress. I think the most stressful thing for me in bag making, because I've only been doing this for a year now, is just the concept of having to make the binding. And typically I was doing it with woven and it seemed like I was adding so much extra time onto my projects. So this is just such, it cuts time, it has a really beautiful finish, it's vibrant coloring, and it's luxurious feel. I just love it. And so now that I have it done from edge to edge, I am ready to proceed with sewing it up. So for this, I decided I was going to use my HD9. I have used my domestic with this. I found it went beautifully with my typical foot. Like I didn't have to change anything about it. It just depends, I think, when you're using a domestic to sew any sort of binding, is just know what the capabilities of your machine are in order to have tension set properly and to be sure you can accomplish, like if you're doing like multiple layers of vinyl on a domestic, that could be really difficult. So you just want to know the abilities of your machine. And this was really quick to sew through my HD9. I finished it up and wanted to show from top to bottom how this ends. So stop over to the Fabric Therapy website and check out the Peel and Bind 1-inch self-adhesive binding or 1.5. Take a look at all the different options, which are custom printed and luxe bound, available in retail in 10-yard increments. Thank you for joining in today and watching the Sewing Hub.